began like any other night in the maternity ward of Willow Ridge Medical Center. The nursery hummed with the soft cries of newborns as nurses in pastel scrubs rotated between feeding schedules and chart updates. In room 108, Grace and Elijah Thompson held their newborn son, Caleb, swaddled tight and sleeping soundly. Just one floor above, Marisol Rivera rested with her daughter, Eva, exhausted from a long labor but grateful for her first child. At 2:17 a.m., 2 infants were wheeled into the nursery for their checkups. One had jaundice, the other needed a glucose test. The nurse on duty, overworked and covering 2 extra shifts, placed their bassinets side by side. She never checked the tags again. She was tired. She'd done this 1,000 times. And just like that, Caleb Thompson and Eva Rivera went home in the wrong arms. For 7 years, the switch remained buried beneath layers of love, routines, and birthday candles. Caleb, who was actually Eva, grew up as the quiet, observant child of the Thompsons, loving the outdoors and piano. Meanwhile, Eva, truly Caleb, thrived in the loud, colorful home of the Riveras, bilingual from age 3 and quick with her wit. The children bore little resemblance to their parents, but no one questioned it. Genes are funny. Grace would laugh when strangers made comments. Life was moving forward, blind to the fracture that had happened under fluorescent lights on a winter night. The illusion shattered one spring afternoon when Eva Rivera, actually Caleb Thompson, collapsed during gym class. Her lips turned blue. Her teacher called 911. In the ER, the doctor asked for medical history. Marisol mentioned heart disease ran in her family, but the blood work didn't align. Neither did the bone structure. Then came the compatibility test. Something wasn't right. A second test was ordered. The doctor quietly pulled Marisol aside. "This child is not biologically related to you." Shock turned to denial, then to rage. Within 24 hours, both families were contacted by the hospital's legal department. Both children were taken in for DNA tests, and the results told a truth no one was ready to hear. Grace fell to the floor when the hospital confirmed it. Elijah stormed out of the room. Marisol screamed. 2 children, 7 years, raised in love but wrong. The emotional aftermath was chaos. Neither family knew what to do. Did they swap them back? How do you return a child you've raised and loved for nearly a decade? The children were too young to understand, but old enough to feel the fracture. They'd been ripped from their stories. For weeks, meetings with child psychologists, grief counselors, and attorneys tried to bridge the impossible. The hospital, meanwhile, offered silence. When Renee Hargrove, an investigative journalist, caught wind of the story, she filed a request for internal records. A whistleblower came forward, a former lab technician who'd been fired months after the switch. He claimed he'd once flagged mismatched ID tags on 2 newborns during a routine audit and was told to shred the error. His email trail was deleted, but he'd saved screenshots. Renee published the exposé, "Switched at Birth, a hospital's hidden error." Public outrage exploded. The hospital issued a carefully worded statement. "We are deeply sorry for the distress caused." No admission of guilt, no mention of the cover-up. But it was too late. The world now knew. The Riveras and Thompsons were united in pain, but divided on what came next. Grace wanted Caleb back. Marisol couldn't bear to lose Eva. Neither child wanted to leave the only parents they'd ever known. The case went to family court, and headlines turned the children into public symbols of institutional failure. The judge ruled against full custody changes, too traumatic, but allowed joint visitation for the sake of biological connection. Both families were ordered into a complicated co-parenting agreement, bound by biology but fractured by betrayal. The children, caught in between, suffered quietly. At 10 years old, Caleb sat before a therapist, tears rolling silently. "I don't know who I am anymore," he said. Eva stopped drawing. She no longer smiled in photos. Identity, once a quiet comfort, had become a battlefield. Caleb started writing letters to Eva. "Maybe we're both from 2 families now," one read, "but I still love the one that raised me." The children, somehow, were more graceful than the adults. They began bonding during court-mandated visits, reading books together, sharing memories, learning each other's lives. Amid the wreckage, they were trying to build a bridge no adult could imagine. The legal battle dragged for years. The hospital finally settled. $8.2 million split between the families, sealed with confidentiality clauses. But money couldn't fix the rupture. Both families moved away from Willow Ridge, unable to bear the town's whispers. The lab was quietly shut down. 2 nurses were fired. But the administrative staff who oversaw the nursery shift the night of the switch retired with full pensions. No criminal charges were filed. No systemic reforms were made. The hospital still runs. Babies are still born there. Years later, Caleb and Eva, now teens, chose to speak publicly. In a TED-style talk at a medical ethics forum, they shared their story not with anger, but with clarity. "We're not cautionary tales," Eva said. "We're people who lived the consequences of someone else's laziness." Caleb added, "They didn't see us, just paperwork." Their talk went viral. Medical schools began including the case in ethics courses. Some hospitals revised ID tagging protocols. Change was slow, but their voices had carved something permanent into the silence. Mistakes in medicine aren't always about life and death. Sometimes, they're about identity, belonging, and the soul-deep trauma of being misseen. The tragedy of Willow Ridge wasn't just the switch. It was the silence, the refusal to admit error, the quiet shredding of truth. In a world where lives are tracked by wristbands and charts, let this be a reminder. Every scan, every label, every ID tag is a person's future. Check twice, speak up, and never, ever let silence bury someone's story again. Subscribe to the White Coat Crimes for more shocking true stories, medical crimes, medical mysteries, and the dark side of healthcare you were never meant to see.